Leanor.
Have faith that people like your face. I could right now call somebody to come pick me up and I could be done.
I love the push.
And even your dance moves are like butter, you know?
Welcome to the eleventylife podcast.
Hi, everybody. I'm Matt. Welcome to eleventylife. Hey, I hope that you have had an incredible week so far. If not, then I hope that this podcast somehow helps to level up your weekend. This week, Davey and I sit down to talk with one of my friends, Leanor. She is the saxophonist in a band called Five Iron Frenzy. And Leanor and I also play together in a band called The Fast Feeling. Davey and I were looking over all the past episodes of eleventylife and realized that a lot of them were kind of guy heavy. And we thought that it would be a really cool move on our part to get a female perspective, and there's nobody better qualified for that than Leanor. We got to have an awesome conversation with her. I cannot wait for you to hear it. A big shout out to everybody who is following and liking our new album Rad Science on Spotify and who is clicking subscribe on the eleventylife podcast. You guys are the best. We were so fortunate to be able to sit down with Leanor for this episode and talk about a ton of different things: sexism and rock and roll, how she got started in the music industry, and how she came to be a member of quite possibly one of the most influential ska bands of our generation. It is always the best time whenever we get to hang out together, and I think that this conversation reflects that. A big old eleventy hug goes out to our Twitter friends, Ricky Winterborn, Grace German, and Peter Who Dares, Madam Blueberry, Eleventy Elena, Explosive Yeast, and KennaK17. Thank you guys so much for all the love and support on Twitter. You guys are the best. I know that everyone's going to love this episode, so let's get into it. This looks amazing. We always have really great, great experiences with internet in Denver.
Is that a bad thing?
No, yeah, like it's pretty awesome. Like even the blazing fast internet here, we still kind of like whenever we do podcasts with people, sometimes it'll cut out or whatever, you know.
Right. Okay. We'll see what happens. I remember, trying to get a hold of you, Matt.
Yeah.
Well, so, and when we do this, it's not going to be visual, right? It's just audio.
Oh, it's everything. It's basically a TV show.
Yeah, so they're going to see me?
No.
There's like a camera outside of your room right now.
You clearly don't understand how podcasts work.
Well, I do, but I have seen some when they are having video with people, and that's annoying.
You asked if people were going to see you on the podcast. That's I have recorded you saying that.
Okay, good. No, we're not started yet. We're not started.
No, of course not.
Okay, you can start anytime now.
I think we started.
Oh, okay. Actually, I wanted to call and catch up with you because I miss you, and it's been like forever since we hung out. We also play in a band together, which we haven't talked about in forever.
Yeah, how's that going, guys?
It's awesome. We did that thing, and people say, "Are you going to do anything else?" And I say, "No, we did that thing, and that's the thing we wanted to do."
I love that answer. That's just
taking
the bull by the horns there, controlling the narrative. That's awesome.
I was rocking it out last night in the car.
Rocking your own CD in the car.
Your own CD. You did a lot of the writing.
Shush, girl.
Shush. Yeah. Shush for real. No, but I actually I listened to the whole record, front to back.
Did you?
Yeah.
Are you lying?
I did,
This is lying, Davey.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's not. Ask Caleb Crago. We listened to the whole thing in a car.
What do you think?
Front to back. I thought it was great.
Yeah. Can you tell when it's Matt singing or me? Because we sound very similar.
No, I can't. Both fairly mousy.
Leanor, shush!
It's true. No, I thought it was good how you did some of the background vocals for me. And it sounds, sometimes I'd listen to it and I'd be like, I don't remember recording that. And then Scott would give me the look like, you didn't. That's Matt.
Yeah.
I actually surprised myself with how similar we sounded. I actually do think recorded we have some similarities in timbre,
right.
as the French would say. Hey, so what have you been up to?
Let's see. So next weekend I'm going to California for a big ska festival.
Ooh.
Yeah. And
we just harmonized that ooh. Like a horn section.
Ooh.
Yep. It's actually like a ton of old school bands like Hepcat, Goldfinger's going to be playing. Big D, tons of bands. Mustard Plug, Less Than Jake, and I'm going to be helping this crew. This guy Taylor, he's putting on a ska documentary. So
nice.
Cool! I get to go interview people, so that'll be pretty cool.
Wow,
that'll be awesome. So what do those bands have in their rider now? Like Icy Hot. And Werther's Original.
Green Room has to be okay for kids to hang out, probably. I don't know.
Because everybody has kids now. Ska bands have kids.
Yeah, a lot of kids.
Yeah.
Tons.
Yeah.
I don't know what's in the rider. Yeah, you're probably right. Like quiet meditation room.
You have 2 kids of your own.
Yes.
And they're beautiful.
Of my own and no other kids. I'm only raising 2 kids that are my own.
You didn't take someone else's children.
I'll watch other people's kids, but I do have my own rules.
I've got a kid. Can you take him?
How old is he?
He's 4.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm good with kids that are 4. Sure.
Yeah, he's in the cutest phase of his life. Everything from here on out is just going to be an annoyance.
It's true. Yeah, 28 and on is the cutest phase of my life.
I was talking about your son.
Right. Yeah, him too.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Oh, you're 28? No.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm old.
I mean,
he's old too.
Well, no, I'm pretty old.
You know what?
Yeah.
No, wait, stop. Most people, when you say you're old, they say, "No, you're not." But instead, you look to him and go, "He's old too."
Well, I'm trying to give you somebody to empathize with here.
I'm still older than him.
Yeah,
I'm starting to get because this is a podcast and you can't see, I'm starting to get little gray hairs.
Well,
it's okay.
Because our computer's pretty old and the resolution's shitty.
Wait. No, you're not. See, how was that?
Yeah. Oh, good job.
Oh my God. I don't know if you've listened to any of the other episodes of the podcast before. Probably not, because you were a terrible friend
but I
to
heard
me
that Jeff
and
was
other
on
people
it, right?
too. Who?
Jeff from Squad.
Jeff came on and did it. We had so much fun with Jeff. We actually, what did we talk for? Like almost 4 hours.
Yeah, we did.
With Jeff.
He is a talker. He's a major talker.
So how would you categorize yourself?
Yeah, I'm kind of a talker too, but he probably has a lot more to say than I do. That is, he's just fast. He's constant all the time. Like we had a different green room than him when we were playing recently, and he kept coming in and interjecting his thoughts on sports and Spanish and politics. And we were like, okay, dude, why don't you just lighten up? We're hanging out, have some beers, just chill out. But he was funny, but he's intense funny.
Yeah, we got so much of those 3 topics actually during those 4 hours. It was like sports, Spanish, and politics.
We were trying to steer it away from politics, but he kept challenging us, and we had no choice. But that's like his big thing, and I had to cut out some of his challenges from the podcast because he was like, "Let me just challenge your thinking on that thing," and I'm like, "No." He was super fun though, really down to earth. Yeah, it made me kind of sad that we never got to play shows together, and we talked about that too. All that stuff.
He's cool. Yeah. Super good guy.
Hey, so one of the things that we kind of do on the podcast is sort of talk through people's musical journeys, and the last 6 months of the podcast has been a sausage party. So I am really glad that you came on.
A lot of dongs.
So much
that is the story of my life, honestly. Like hanging out with dudes all the time, and it's funny because I am into music, but sometimes when I talk to women, I'm like, it seems like women aren't into music, but it's not that they're not into music. It's just that dudes are entirely all about music. And so I developed that annoying tendency to just talk music.
Well, we as dudes, to conjugate it correctly, we enjoy. Right. I think guys are just so boisterous about their opinions, and like when they get around other guys, and you know, is it ironic
that guys are boisterous?
That's actually where the term comes from.
Is it?
Sure.
Boisterous.
Oh, etymology.
Yeah.
No one Google it yet. We'll figure it out.
I can talk music all day long. So if you want to talk music, let's do it. That's awesome. I would love to.
You and I have got to have some of these conversations. So for other people that haven't heard it, just kind of pretend like we're having it for the first time. But I'm sure there's stuff that you haven't told me about how you got started in music. Did you grow up in a musical family?
Did I tell you that when I was growing up, I grew up in the countryside, and we had a big house, like an old house, and one of the bedrooms was turned into a music room.
Oh, wow.
Did I tell you that?
Go on.
Yeah, so my dad, he's Mexican-American. Well, both my parents are. And picture Cheech. He looks a lot like Cheech. He talks like Cheech.
All right.
Yeah.
Are you stereotyping your own dad? This is the problem with America! It's in the families now.
She can do that, though.
I know she can.
Yeah, she can do that.
I don't have to. That's just my dad. And so he plays trumpet pretty well, but he doesn't play piano very well at all. He just thinks if you play the high notes that they're right. So, do you know those kind of guys?
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm one of them.
right?
Talking to him.
Right.
So he would jam, like we had a record player in there and old beer, all these different beer lights that would light up, like Miller Lite and Champagne of the beers and all these lights. And he smoked in the house. So it was pretty much like a bar. And we would jam to Motown. We would rock out saxophone, trumpet, piano, percussion instruments, even dance moves, like serious four tops.
What?
All the time. My whole life. Yeah, dude.
So like,
that's how I got into music.
All of you guys playing at the same time? Or like air saxophone?
No, just me and my dad. No, real saxophone. He gave me one when I was 9. He got it at the pawn shop, and I just started jamming on it and, start rocking out.
Pawn shop sax.
Yeah.
Gotta love it.
Sounds like a bar band.
It does. So this is pretty cool. So are these some of your earliest musical memories, like jamming to like Motown vinyl with your parents in the speakeasy?
Yeah, there was this chick named Lena Zavaroni. Have you ever heard of her?
Nope.
So she's old school, like maybe 1950. She was a child prodigy, and we found the record, and she sings like, "Mama, he's making eyes at me," like real kind of
sweet.
Feisty for a little chick. She was like 12, and I would sing, and then I was like the little show, like my parents would have their drunk friends over and they'd watch me sing and kind of trying to be a little kid performer.
It sounds like your parents are one cop call away from just getting shut down.
Yeah, my parents had their drunk friends over to watch me, but I wasn't singing.
What did you do?
Oh my God.
Just like babysitting.
That's for therapy. That's for therapy, Davey. Save that for the counselor.
Not today.
Oh my gosh. So you picked up sax at 9?
Right. And then I was failed by the school system because I tried to learn at school, but they didn't teach us scales. They didn't really teach us anything.
The school system failed you, or you failed to learn how to play sax? Which one is it? Okay.
Our music teacher just wanted to goof around and have an easy job. So he didn't really teach us. And I learned that when I finally did join Five Iron. I was in high school. It was my senior year. And I was going to all these punk shows, and it was Christian punk. So there was this band called Exhumator, these long-haired, dorky kind of guys.
Yeah.
And also this one band called Mortal. You ever heard of them? It's like Full Xander back in the day.
Oh, yeah, Fold Zan. Actually, I think I found some old Fold Zan vinyl when we were moving a few months ago. Yeah.
What are you messing with, Matt?
Oh, no.
Taxes.
I'm filing my taxes while we're doing this podcast. I've got so many things to do. That's not true. It's actually just a whiteboard for keeping track of conversation.
So I used to go to all these shows, and I joined this band basically because I played saxophone, and I found out that everyone else in their school band learned scales, and I learned nothing. All I learned I could kind of march in a line and just goof around and play pet band songs, but I didn't really learn anything, and so I was pretty terrible when I joined Five Iron.
So was the name Five Iron at that point?
Yeah, it was called Five Iron Frenzy, and it was going to be a spin-off of Exhumator had a heavy metal band, and they were going to make a industrial band called Numbskull, and then a ska band called Five Iron Frenzy that was going to just be the funny thing, and then the funny thing just took off.
Yeah, it usually does.
The funny thing took off. Wow. Yeah. I feel like that's kind of a recurring theme in the universe. It's like the best things kind of come from jokes. These all sound like band names that Reese would have made up.
Yep, probably.
Yeah.
It's probably like you have a notebook and you draw something and a logo. And the first thing they said to me was, "Do you play sax?" And I said, "Yeah." And they were like, "Do you love the Lord?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then Reese said, "Oh."
That's the qualification.
What? Yeah. Do you play sax? Do you love the Lord? And then Reese said, "I've always wanted to be in a band with a girl." So that was it. They didn't try me out. They didn't ask. They just said, "Start coming up. You're in the band." And so on weekends, I was in high school and I'd drive up an hour and start playing. And that was it. They didn't even know if I was good, and I wasn't good.
Wow. I've heard that's kind of the same hiring practice as like Amazon.
Right.
Yeah. They just sort of, especially during the holiday season.
Can you work 13 hours in a row? Do you love the Lord?
Yeah. Do you love the Lord? Do you love capitalism? You're perfect.
Oh, no. You can't love capitalism if you're in Five Iron.
Are you guys communists?
Political, right?
Oh, easy. We will get Hefe Ray back over here to set us straight.
I don't want to do it. Change the subject. No. You know, Matt, though, I will say something, right?
Yeah.
Just real quick.
Sure you will.
Real quick. and I guess it's on the record since we're here.
Okay.
But I dated his brother, John. And John even came up and met my dad, my Cheech-like dad. And my dad saw his tattoos and said, we're going to the mountains. You better put on a long sleeve shirt because there's ticks. And then, of course, right? So they're not really getting along. And I'm trying to get John and my dad to like each other. And my dad offers John a beer. And, of course, John, awkward, says, no, sir, I only have alcohol during communion. And my dad's like rolling his eyes.
Oh, my gosh.
No.
Wow.
Too lame.
Man,
Too lame.
You know how to pick them, Leanor.
Hey, so I have a question, Leanor. So let's get back
Yes.
to you're 9 years old and you pick up a saxophone. So why didn't you pick up a trumpet or something smaller, something more fit for a 9-year-old girl?
I have no idea. Oh, no, I do know. I know why. Yeah.
Bill
Okay,
Clinton.
because
Limited pawn shop.
My grandpa played saxophone. So saxophone's a big deal, dude. Like, my grandpa played it. He was Pete Faustino Ortega. Very, very, I mean, he's from Mexico. Awesome guy. Like, just, I wanted to be like him and play saxophone. It's a lot cooler sounding than trumpet, I think.
Were you close to your grandfather growing up?
Oh, yeah. And even when I was in my punk rock years and I had a mohawk, I got to stay the night at his house. But if I stayed the night at his house, because I went out with friends, at 5 a.m., I'd have to go to McDonald's and meet all those senior citizens. Yeah. And I had like a big blue mohawk, and he'd introduce me as his girlfriend.
My man, Ortega.
There are so many things. It's not going to hold up in court.
It actually works in South Carolina,
Well,
though.
yeah, South Carolina, you're fine. You could have walked into any Waffle House and people would have just said, yep.
Yeah. Oh, I have an awesome family. No judgment. We could be totally rocking out. No judgment.
Yeah.
No judgment.
That's awesome. So you start hanging out with the 5 Iron guys, and this is like a group of nothing but dudes. When you were growing up, did you sort of more identify with the tomboyish sort of persona, or is that something that you fell into, or what?
When I was when I went to church camp, I was about 12.
Okay.
At church camp. And I was a character named Jeff in a play. Okay. And the character was a boy. And so everyone started calling me Jeff because the youth pastor said, do that.
Oh, right.
You know, kind of the annoying, she doesn't like the name Jeff, so call her Jeff. And then everybody does.
It sounds like he was,
the patriarchy.
It sounds like he was crunching on you.
He was trying to get me involved and stick me around.
Matt, she was 12.
Worked,
trying to get me involved.
Care about me.
Right. Yes. Just show you some of that brotherly love.
Right. And
youth pastors are known for.
Micah's my cousin, Micah in 5 Iron. He's my second cousin. And he brought up Reese and Keith to the church camp. And Reese and Keith were total metalheads, and they tried to, like, all the girls in the whole church camp were like, who are those guys? Like, who are these good-looking Sebastian Bach, long-haired
Oh, my
guys?
gosh.
Bach.
Oh, my God.
It's true. It's true. Reese would always, I mean, his hair was, like, in the middle of his back, and he's a good-looking guy. I mean, he's got really weird long arms, though.
Yeah, I cannot
Matt,
relate to
you
that.
have long arms, too. You have really weird shoulders and long arms.
I kind of have. I have a very ape-like skeletal structure.
You two guys could hug a bunch of people at the same time.
No, we could. Reese is far more pleasant on the eyes.
Well, you get no arguments from us.
I totally get that.
I'm not going to comment.
Okay.
But you guys had a similar vocal range because we were saying that your voice can go as high as mine. Reese is in my vocal range too. So you have that in common too. So prepubescent voice and long arms.
Yeah, we do have prepubescent voice that we somehow never knocked. Whenever Reese and I were working on Pool Party Death Machine, which never happened. I remember this moment where I was like, hey, so you know that I kind of learned how to sing, or thought it might be possible to sing by listening to 5 Iron records, because he has such a distinctive voice. Like it's I don't want to say androgynous. It's just like it just like kind of has this cool sort of gender bending quality to it.
Yeah, maybe in the same way like Melissa Etheridge is androgynous.
Yeah, she does that too. Right. Yeah. And so does Mark Solomon of Stavesacre. He's got like that higher, you know? My God, really high.
Yep. I don't know why you didn't try out for Stavesacre. You do a really great impression. It's
You know, funny story with Mark Solomon, though. Cornerstone used to have a prom, and one year I know, right? You know where this is going?
Homeschool kisses.
1 year, I was totally kidding. I was totally kidding with Mark Solomon, and I asked in front of a bunch of people, Mark, do you want to go to prom with me? Totally kidding and totally serious. He's like, in front of all these people, he's like, Jeff, I would love to, but I'm playing a concert that night. And I'm like so embarrassed, like mortified, like, dude, I'm kidding. Not trying to ask Mark to a prom.
He called you Jeff?
Yeah, everyone did. Everyone did.
Is this a recurring theme in your life? Maybe because I struggle with this too. I will be totally ready for a joke. I'll set myself up for it,
and somebody calls him Jeff
and deliver. and then people are like, they don't know that I'm joking. I think because like I'm maybe like the inside of me is ready to joke, but the outside of me hasn't caught up with it yet. So I just kind of like, people have a hard time knowing when I'm joking. Or
what's the joke? What are you talking about?
Right? Yeah.
You lost me, dude.
Yeah, I'm the joke. So
okay,
you went to prom with Mark.
I was turned down. Because his concert was more important
than Jeff.
But I did go on the poetry tour with him, Mark Solomon, Reese, this guy named Pigeon John. You know who that is? Mm-mm. Rapper. And this guy, Alan the Fisherman, another rapper. So that was pretty cool. That was pretty intense, but fun.
That was a poetry tour?
Yeah. So for 2 weeks, we went all around the United States, and different coffee shops and churches and, hangout places would have a crowd, and each of us would do a poem and then it was open mic. So kids in the crowd could come up and do a poem too. And Reese did very intense essay, type of poems that are like sermons.
Shocker.
Breaking your heart. Yeah. And the other guys would one of the guys was really good at freestyling. So we did that. It was pretty cool. It was awesome.
So one of the things that I've noticed about you is that you have a very extrovert energy to you.
Matt, no one is asking you to tell me what you think about me.
No, I'm volunteering the information. So I'm telling you what I think about you.
I wish I was recording this.
Yeah, I wish someone was. God.
I wish. Davey, get on it.
Damn it.
Okay, tell me, Matt. Start over. You have a very... What?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to figure out like the friendliest way to put it. You have an extroverted energy that I sort of envy because you're the kind of person that like I feel like we could drop you in any scenario and you can do the whole like life of the party, hang out, have a conversation, tell jokes, sort of a thing. It helps everybody else who's like kind of struggles with introversion feel more at home.
You're like a warm blanket for conversation.
Yeah. So like
I guess
a warm blanket for a grease fire.
Right.
Okay, but was it always like that, or did the band sort of help you find that voice, or you've always kind of had this part of your personality that came out? Okay.
I think I always did. I think the band has made it much more fun to meet people and to really get to know people outside of my comfort zone, because we've gone to, South Africa and Puerto Rico and Europe, and we have yuppie people, we have tea party people, we have all different kinds of fans, all different types of fans, punk rock, drug doing fans too on Warped Tour. And it just kind of makes you have to get out. You don't have any comfort zone once you're doing that. And to be quite honest, sounds crazy.
Okay.
I did not hang out with white men before I joined Five Iron.
Because your family's Mexican?
Yeah. And because like going up in my school, it was a small school, and the Chicana girls hung out with the Chicana girls, and I had the big bangs, and I thought I was really tough and listened to rap. And then slowly I started getting into punk. Yeah, it's true. Like I was just the typical Chicana girl and thought I was pretty awesome and pretty tough. And then Micah, who is half white, my cousin, and got me into this church camp and started meeting more people. And so when I told my dad that I was quitting college, Colorado Christian University, to join Five Iron Frenzy and tour and live in a school bus, he about lost it. There's no way. Like I never even had dated white guys.
Well, he's a parent. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and he's not racist, but this is just a different world for me. This is all like watching Dennis like eat with his napkin and his fork and his knife, and he's such a yuppie, and you're like, what? I just wasn't used to this world. Definitely not.
Wait, so are you saying Mexicans don't use forks? What the?
No, we have tortillas. Do you know?
Tortillas, yeah.
Forks.
Eat with their hands.
You come to my grandma's house, you will have a tamale and you will have tortillas and you will have some big soupy food and you will fold it up in a tortilla and you will not use a fork.
Well, if I ever got an invite, I might consider it. I was actually eating a turkey tia earlier today. I just rolled up some turkey.
Turkey tia?
Well, our refrigerator's broken, so so Jessica put a bunch of stuff in this like foam cooler. And we threw some ice in it, and I was like, "What can the thing at the top that was edible was like turkey?" And I knew we had tortillas.
That sounds bad.
Well, you know what?
Stop saying tortillas like that.
It was good for me.
Stop. Stop.
Tortilla.
Stop.
Hey, so speaking of really bad Mexican accents or Spanish accents, well, no, mine.
Okay.
I don't think mine's awesome.
Not yours, Leanor.
Not yours, Leanor. Come on.
We think yours is spot on.
If you haven't heard, if you haven't heard it yet, I'm not gonna say it.
I don't know if I want to hear it. I might look at you a little differently.
You don't. You already look at me differently.
Well, because you're like, be on my podcast, and you're like, let me tell you everything I think about you. Weird.
I'm trying to pay you a compliment. I'm not like fishing for.
This isn't intervention.
No, you're not, because it takes you way too long. Too long. Like, let me really figure it out.
You're right.
Say you're comfortable in every situation.
You're right. I'm trying to make myself comfortable. I should just be as
Leanor, would you? Leanor, host this podcast for us. Just come to Asheville. We're going to send you files.
I'm going to do my own. I'm going to do my own. Get that. What do you think of that?
What's it going to be called?
Cool?
What's it going to be called?
Serious? I'll tell you.
Yeah.
It's going to be called Too Punk to Be a Hippie. Anyways, let me tell you what I think about you, Matt. You ready?
Sure. Go for it.
Okay. I don't think you're an introvert, first of all.
Okay.
You seem comfortable in all kinds of situations. What I like about you is you're confident. When we were learning, I was learning how to sing. I didn't know how to sing at all. And you would give me all these direction, but you were very, very, very diplomatic about it. And that's what I liked, because like Scott, his eyebrow will just kind of go up and his veins will stick out in his head. And I'll know like you're singing terrible. But you'd be like, yeah, that's kind of what I want. But when you said that, that meant it's nothing like what you want, but you're going to give it 5 more takes. And every take, you're going to slowly say, that's not what I want. And then every take, you're going to be like, you can do it better, but you will never say you can do it better. You're just so nice. So like, maybe it's Southern. Is that the nice Southern thing?
I don't know.
What is she talking about?
So Davey might not know that part of me.
What are you talking about?
Like, so that's what I'm trying to do.
You're nice to him.
You're like reaming me for not getting to the point, and I'm still even right now talking to you, trying to be diplomatic about how I pay you a compliment. So here's something that I'm interested in. Tell me what I don't know about sexism in rock and roll.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here's one thing you don't understand about sexism in rock and roll.
Okay.
It is often assumed that females should mostly deal with fans because it's people skills. But when it comes to like songwriting, it's not very many people would say to me first, why don't you try that horn line, or why don't you come up with a melody? There are certain roles that we deem as masculine and roles that we deem as feminine. And so merchandise selling, or hanging interviews or social media, that's an easy one for a female. And it's especially because it actually has to do with sex appeal. And I'm not trying to say that I'm stupid, because I recognize that our fan base is dudes.
Right.
I'm not trying to say I'm stupid.
I didn't think you were going to say stupid.
21 to 34 or 35, that's our fan base. So I get like, maybe you should be the face, but I want to be more than the face. I like booking shows. Okay. And I can be tough about it. The other thing is, honestly, a lot of promoters try to take advantage of females as far as money goes, as far as booking shows. It's like, the friend thing. And I've kind of learned that with our booking agent. He's kind of teaching me to be savvy. He's like, you do the whole deal, but when it comes to the money part, come to me, because they're thinking, oh, she's nice, she's sweet, we have the friend deal, we'll pay you this much, or agree on a payment, and then when it's time after the show, be like, you know what, we have had way more expenses than we thought. They think you're going to be a pushover instead of a hard ass.
Right.
Okay.
And then if you are a hard ass, you're seen as, you become the bitch immediately.
Okay, so back up for 1 second. When the booking agent said that to you, when he was like, you should do your thing, but when it comes time for the money, you send them in my direction and to me. So like, what? So how did that make you feel?
No, I'm okay. I get it, because to some degree, there's a weird thing. It's like, I wonder if it's because I'm a female, or because I'm a nice person, or because I'm the talent. So I can't really decide, is it because you can't speak up for yourself monetarily because you're in the band, so you shouldn't be the booking person. Someone else has to be the heavy.
Yeah.
But even just talking this way, like talking about the lingo inside the system, seems foreign and ridiculous. Like, this is a male jargon. This is a male language. To talk like this and know the ins and outs of sound or music or monitors or anything like that, like, people are surprised and they're not used to it, and it throws them off, and they don't think that you can go that deep when you are a female. It's like, you can stick it light, but it's like, no, I can go deep, and I like to go deep, and I like to book shows. I like to write lyrics. I like to consider sound, but that's because, so would anybody else who's been in a band since 1995.
Sure. Yeah. Anybody who's done it long enough to understand the ins and outs of everybody's job.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But people take for granted that I would know what I'm talking about. And it's actually not asked of me. Very little is asked of me.
So do you feel like little being asked of you is aggression in some way? Or do you think it all stems sort of from an assumption? Or do you think it stems from, there's a lot of people in your band and there's a lot of responsibilities that can just sort of get eaten up already from other people? Like, do you think it is sort of systemic? Like it actually is because people don't think you can do it? Or do you think it's just like the people that want those jobs sort of gravitate to them?
Right. I think they think that I can't do it. Like, why should she book the show? But several times I booked the show. Several times, like when we did that Kickstarter and we made all this money, I was the first one to be like, and we did it like with all this money. So I was like, I'll get a venue. I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to get bands. I got bands. I'm going to get the lighting crew. I'm going to get catering. I did it all. And I didn't take a cut. Like, I can do these things. Yeah. But it's not considered like, go ask her. Like, it would never be considered like this would be something she would know how to do. But I'll tell you something interesting.
Okay.
When Five Iron got back together, this is fascinating to me. So when I first was in Five Iron and I would talk, I might not really be listened to. After the guys got married and we got back together, when I talked, everyone got quiet and kind of looked at me like, well, what is the plan? Tell us the plan.
Yeah.
And I noticed that after they'd been married or maybe had kids, they're kind of like, oh, female talking. What's going on? Tell us what to do.
It's like a bird dog.
Yeah. And I don't mean it to be rude, but it was like instantly I noticed it was different. I was like, oh, hey.
So it sounds like you have a problem. It sounds like you have a problem with gender roles to a certain degree, but then when they work out in your favor, you actually kind of enjoy it. Is that correct in saying that? Is that twisting what you're talking about way too?
No, it's not about, I think it's a matter of respect. I think that the guys have gotten way more respectful now that they're married. I think they've gotten more open-minded now that they're parents. I think that, we were all young. We were all insecure. We were all rude to each other. Even me. Like, I did a lot of things that basically my big thing that I would do is I'd keep like a running list of what pissed me off.
Okay.
And then when someone would go too far, I'd bring out the list from like 3 years. And you can't do that and be a healthy band. Right?
Did your heart shrivel up from the weight of the list?
Yeah. Why don't you use that for lyrical inspiration?
Okay.
So what year did Five Iron break up?
2003. How old were you?
I was 13.
Yeah.
But believe me, I'd been a Five Iron fan for like 5 years. I was into your band when I was like 8 years old.
Well, yeah, and we talked about this with Jeff too. We were kind of lamenting the fact that like there were all these bands like Five Iron and Squad and MX, and we were like, you guys made that whole Christian music scene seem appealing and not lame. Right. And so that was sort of what drew us to it. After being in it, we were like, okay, and then I don't think we're...
It's probably way different once you were in it. Because once you were in it, it was like guys were wearing women's pants.
Oh, that was me, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was sort of what everybody did.
You were wearing women's pants too.
Were wearing women pants.
Yeah.
No, but what I was getting at, Leanor, is that in 2003 you guys broke up, but was it 2012 when the Kickstarter happened?
2011. 2011.
Yeah, the world really changed a lot between those 2 days, right? Do you think any of that, like the cultural change, had anything to do with the guys' approach or perspective on you in like an authoritative role?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I think we all kind of matured up and we got a lot less legalistic. When Five Iron was first around, we had a lot of rules that we self-inflicted. It wasn't from the label. It was no people of the opposite sex in your hotel room, no alcohol. When I joined Five Iron, I smoked. And the first day I got in the van, I lit up a cigarette and they were like, we don't smoke. And so I just quit cold turkey.
Peer pressure.
Cold turkey Tia.
Cold turkey Tia. Peer
Cold
pressure.
turkey Tia. I'm hungry for one now. Food. Anyway, you were saying.
And no, we didn't even watch rated R movies.
What?
Serious. Like serious for years. No. We were very legalistic to ourselves. And it was the way we did it. And it was the world we were in, even on Warped Tour. Like we just, on Ska Against Racism, they had little shot glasses made, and Less Than Jake had them all, like for everyone in all the bands. And ours had like 8 glasses of milk for us. And we thought it was awesome. We were like, perfect. We weren't. But so when we came back, and, most of us have 2 kids by that time, we're all married at that time. In 2011, when we got back, it's like we're adults, we're older, more mature, less legalistic.
We're really into meth and really into heroin.
Hey, today's 420. Speaking of.
Right on. Heroin it up.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I bet in Colorado, it's just party.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably is outside the store.
Like you don't know, Leanor, like you're.
I don't care.
That's awesome. So is that what you would want everybody to? I'm kind of like interested in the sexism that goes on behind the scenes. Like for us, our experience within the music industry and like touring, when we were like touring heavily and all that stuff, it was like, it really did kind of feel like a sausage party, and there wasn't a ton of female influence. And I don't know.
Do you know why I think that is?
Yeah, please tell me. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's because when boys are in their bedrooms by themselves playing guitar for hours or drums, as awkward kids, girls are hanging out. Girls are hanging out with each other. They're 13, 14, 15. We're very social at that age. We're figuring out what scene we're into, what other things we're into.
They're out running merch tables.
No. See?
I'm just circling back around to what you said.
Yeah, I think that really does make a lot of sense, though, Leanor. Like females aren't willing to put in the time, is what you're saying? No, that's not what you're saying. I'm sorry. That was stupid.
I was like, no, that actually makes a lot of sense. But like, I would say, I think that there might be something. And please tell. I'm actually asking you because I want to know what I'm missing. I think that there's something about.
Listen a little more. Just wait.
Shut up.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so the other part is women are not willing to look like idiots for a long period of time. And to start an instrument, especially drums or electric guitar, something loud, you have to look like an idiot.
Yes. Okay, gotcha.
You have to have the humility to like push through the awkwardness. And, if you look like an idiot for a while, it's just like you can get discouraged. Like, I have to be good at this or I'm not going to do it. And you do look bad for a while. So I think that's part of it. I think the social scene is part of it. And I also just think that it's not considered, like a bunch of girls don't just get together and be like, yeah, let's be in a band,
Well, I actually have a question. Okay. Like Matt said, there really just wasn't a lot of girls in bands when we were coming up. My mind goes back to this one moment where John Stevens, drummer for eleventyseven, were sitting on the van, and this girl runs by, and John says, "Hey, dude, look at that." And I'm like, dude, that's like the most sexist thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I sort of get it, but it's sexist. And the girl turns around and it's Matt.
It was Matt?
It was Matt the whole time. Like,
I used to have hips that Shakira would envy.
I'm not kidding. That's a real story.
And they did not lie.
Yeah.
But it really it brought forward this whole like, hey, we like left to our own devices, we all can be pretty shitty people.
Well, I was actually trying to form a question earlier, which is like, is there something that guys do that sort of makes breaking into this whole to band culture harder? Or is it just like blatant sexism on guys' part that makes it so off-putting for girls to want to be a part of the music scene? Or
sometimes okay. I would say the biggest thing is sexual jokes. I mean, that's the biggest thing. The obvious thing is making a green room feel uncomfortable. Okay. Or like when there's a lot of drinking at a show and a dude just will not freaking let up. That drives me crazy.
Okay.
Things like that are unfortunate. But other than that, I think it's interesting because here in Denver, this is fascinating. So in Denver, in the last 10 years, there are several women in bands, and not just singers. But if you go to a festival here in Denver, there's going to be women guitarists, women drummers, women ukulele, electronica music, all kinds of women in the scene.
Yeah.
And that's because of a lot of girls' programs and a lot of just seeing more women and seeing more women and seeing more women and being put out there visually like, oh, this could be something I could do.
Right.
You know? And also I think that, I think sometimes a lot of women that are musicians are bad role models because they over-sexualize themselves. And I'm not trying to sound super cool because I'm pretty modest, but I am proud of that. I am proud that I've been able to be known for my musicianship and my humor and my personality more than anything else. Like I could do that route, but that's just not me. I'm not bashing people that that's part of their style because that's some dude's style too. But I think that I think it's unfortunate when that becomes the main thing that a musician woman thinks that she has to offer.
Right. So yeah, I actually think we talked about this like very briefly in a conversation when we were working on the Fast Feeling record. And it's like when I see girls or women within the music scene, I'm like, I think there's some girls that sort of, they feel very sexually confident and that's a part of their persona. It's part of their music.
Yeah.
I would never, ever want to say or do anything to take that away from them. But I feel like the flip side to that coin is that there's some people where it kind of crosses this line from being like sexually confident and exuding that sort of energy into this is what I have to offer. This is how I get attention.
Right.
Like this, you know what I mean? Like it's almost,
yeah, I do.
I don't know. It makes me kind of sad because I'm like,
right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to just be sexual. It can be beauty. It can be beauty based. Like,
sure.
You know, I almost feel that the Christian market, and I didn't grow up with the Christian market, but it seems sometimes that these women have to just look a certain way, even to be at the Women of Faith conference, you know, and how many layers of makeup do those women of faith, and that's not very, have faith that people like your face, you know? I feel that, yeah, there's this beauty concept. It's like, it's not a beauty contest. Who cares?
Is that how you feel? It's not a beauty contest.
Yeah.
So do you remember any moments that you experienced that? That might be too personal of a question. I don't know
what the experienced was.
Yeah, I didn't get the question.
That's sort of like the sexism. Like the Me Too movement is really big now. It's part of the national conversation, part of the international conversation. Like, I don't know if you experienced that a lot touring. I know that Five Iron was primarily in the Christian market, but you guys did a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, but when we did Ska Against Racism, there's other band members in other bands that I had to avoid. Like I'd tell the guys in my band and they would know, like, you just avoid them. You're not going to go around them. And, you know, I was young too. So I think that happens. The other thing that happens sometimes is like, it's assumed when you come to a venue, it's like, you can't get backstage. They think you're a groupie. And I'm like, no, I'm actually in the band, you know?
Like, I'm playing saxophone in front of you right now.
That can happen.
Yeah. So did you feel like there were guys in Five Iron that sort of took it upon themselves to kind of look out for you in that way?
Oh yeah. I have Andy. Andy is pretty much my brother in the band, as far as he would love to get in a fight for me. He's gotten several screaming matches for me on you know, and just, I think Reese too. Reese is cool because he's got a sister, and so he knows how to treat women. As far as like, he's the only guy in the band that would tell me, "You look pretty," and not be weirded out by that. It would just come off normal.
Right,
you know,
he was comfortable doing that.
I could see you being like that too. You're kind of like the kind of guy that could talk to, like, a lot of the guys in my band aren't girlfriendy kind of guys. You seem kind of like a girlfriendy kind of guy.
Well, I actually have two sisters, so
yeah.
So I'm always kind of like, if I have a chance to say something nice or to affirm someone, even in just like trivial ways, like, you look great, or this looks awesome. You look awesome, or you seem really happy today, or you seem really comfortable. Like, I don't know, just like little things like that would make my sister feel, oh, wow, somebody noticed. That's great.
Yeah. But a lot of the guys in my band aren't like that. They're very like, we just treat each other like I'm not it's not that I'm not a female, but we're just on the same level. Like, you know, they don't tell the other guys, wow, Brad, you look really nice in those jeans or anything.
Yeah,
like,
that's totally me. I'm totally that. Like, imagine me saying, you look really happy today.
Weird.
Yeah, like,
you're such a
it sounds like such an asshole
piece of crap.
Right. Leave me alone.
Yeah, I'm sorry for our kind.
Let's nosedive here and get just a little bit darker, and then I promise we will hit a rainbow here pretty soon. Tell me about the most tense moment that you ever experienced in your band.
Probably one of them was when Reese and Andy were having an argument. And it was Thanksgiving Day, and it was snowing, and we were driving through a truck stop on our way to a tour. And I called my family, which again, I say is a big Mexican family, and they're passing around the phone, and I'm on a cell phone, or not a cell phone. This is before cell phones. I'm on a payphone in the truck stop, and everyone's saying hi, and my band is fighting, and I'm just kind of like crying a bit, just thinking, I could right now call somebody to come pick me up and I could be done. Like this, I don't need to do this. Like, I was kind of like, felt like a crossroads of like, are you going to sacrifice and go bring joy to people and just put your moment and your holiday on hold and go rock out and recognize that your band will be okay. You'll figure it out. So that was probably one of the most tense. The other thing is, and I think for everybody, you go through a season where you make your faith your own, and it's no longer your church's faith or your parents' faith or your government's faith or whatever it is. It's all of a sudden like you destroy everything and you say to God, I don't know what I believe. So I went through that, and it was like a 2-year process. And I would find if the stage had if I could hide under the stage, like physically hide under it. Yeah. I knew Reese was going to do worship songs like As the Deer. So I just kind of dive under the stage and just like hide. I would hide.
So God couldn't see you.
So you guys couldn't see me. Nobody can see me. I don't need to be seen. And I would just do my work with God. Like, what the hell? Like, so that was like 2 years of that. And those were brutal conversations with me and God, but it was good, but it felt kind of hypocritical because I was figuring out what I believed.
One of the actually, I could say this, some of the best conversations I've had about faith, religion, God have been with Scott in Five Iron. Yeah.
Totally.
I love talking with him about that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So it seems like there was sort of a dark night of the soul for you. And that's not uncommon. A lot of people go through that. It's another thing to kind of be a part of a band that from the outside seems like they have a very religious agenda. Right. And then to kind of feel that internal conflict of like, I don't know if I can tick all these boxes anymore. What was that? Right. What was that like for you?
I wasn't aware of it at first. And so when I found out, it shocked me as far as Scott's dilemma. Is that what you mean? Scott
I'm asking kind of about you because I know Scott has kind of fallen more on the more atheistic side of
you mean where
of the conversation. Yeah, but what was that for you?
Oh, I landed in belief. And that happened when my brother died. I mean, it sounds really strange, but when my brother died, it caused me to have to think, do I believe what I believe?
Right.
It was comforting to find out that I did. It was comforting to find out, no, you know what? I have a belief in God and I have a relationship with God, and I don't. What's been interesting in my 40s is to figure out there are things about the Bible and there are things about God that I am finally comfortable saying I don't like. And I don't understand, and I don't know. And the audacity of that side of faith is very new and very freeing and very liberating for me to say, I may not like this, but I'm going to trust God in it.
Do you feel like you feel like you came from a world where that sort of questioning was frowned on or was taboo?
No, I just think I was legalistic because my parents certainly weren't legalistic. If anything, I told you they're pretty much hippies. They love God, but they would do what they want to do. You know, they're like, God doesn't care.
Yeah.
But I think part of it came from Five Iron, honestly, the legalism in Five Iron and being up on a pedestal. And I think that's kind of what does screw you up is you become in this pedestal and people treat you like you deserve to be there. And so suddenly you are this pastoral figure that you're never called to be, never meant to be, never wanted to be. You're just trying to be a rocker and not even trying to be a rock star, just be a person that's, the most spiritual place for me is on stage. When the crowd is communing and I'm communing, then there's something spiritual happening. But I don't think that's a pastorally role. And I didn't like when people would put all this faith into our beliefs and and so it's a struggle.
See, that's sort of a recurring theme on the podcast. When we talk about the things that make a really good show, the topical discussion of Christ or Christianity or worship plays almost no role in it whatsoever. It's almost like it feels more of an intrinsic human experience. It's like you can go to a good show and you can go to a good performance and you can have a shared experience with the crowd and with the performers, and you're all there and you're all connected and there's some kind of unicorn sparkles for about lack of a better term.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Like flowing through everyone. You are all becoming something greater. You are sharing pieces of each other with
and what you
each
take
other.
from that is up to you and your interpretation of that.
Yeah, and it kind of transcends whatever sort of label that you would put on your faith. I mean, it's like it's kind of like an undeniable thing that's happening no matter what you call it. And I feel like some people decide to call that like an experience with God. Maybe it is. Like maybe that is. I think maybe other people are just on drugs. Having a great time. I think it just depends on like on where you are.
Right.
You seem to enjoy those moments of connection with other people. Yeah. And bringing,
for sure,
being a part of bringing joy to people.
That's pretty much my job. My job is to be a blessing to people. And that's what I've been telling my kids their job is. They only have one job, be a blessing to people.
So what was it about your brother dying that brought things into focus?
Well, I had to decide if I was going to be bitter and angry and blame the idea of God, or if I was going to recognize that God didn't do this to me and that I can be filled with joy and still be a loving person and a vulnerable person and a breakable person. And so I just decided I'm going to live really well for the two of us and just really enjoy experiences. And I've done that. Like I'm still doing that. And it's also helped me put on qualities that I did not recognize that I was lacking in. Like my mom and my brother were really close, and he was a very gentle, kind, listening person, very different than me. And so after my brother died, my mom needed to be loved that way, and I had no idea how to do it. So I started to put on the qualities that he had, and it's helped me become a better, I don't want to say a better person, but a more well-rounded person.
Yeah. So like, what would you say would be one of the best moments of being in Five Iron that you'll never forget?
One moment that has been amazing in Five Iron, I think it was our last show. Our last show was seeing people from all over the world come together, and I was definitely sobbing. But we had been playing live for like 3 months, and so there's this word, and you know what it is, in the pocket, like when you feel in the pocket, and the horns are playing perfectly, and all the instruments are in sync, and even your dance moves are like clockwork, like butter, you know?
Your dance moves are like butter. I'll never forget that.
We have 8 people. We cannot jump on each other. You know, we have 8 people, and my feet aren't getting smashed on. I know when the trombone's right here and there, and all this stuff, and it transcends everything. It's just like riding a bike, and it's beautiful. And you know, we arrived and we did that. So I think that's probably it.
Wow, it sounds like everything good about a show or a spiritual experience that you would have.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, so how about we do this? I know that you've got family to get back to and a bunch of other stuff. We normally do this round called...
Okay, what's this lightning round?
Patient and kind. So we like to ask people 3 questions about bands. One of them is if you could go back in time and be in any band in the world, just insert yourself as a member of that band. It can't be Five Iron.
Yeah.
Okay. Who would that band be?
Tower of Power.
Okay.
And what would you play?
Saxophone.
I know nothing about
I don't even know what that is. Is that a ride at Disney World?
Do some research.
Okay, you could look that up, but any band like Earth, Wind, and Fire, any like soul band back in the day in the 70s, it was like funk and these horn lines and these fast little jazzy horn lines. Maybe I could be in Michael Jackson's backing band, you know, something like that.
Cool. Okay. All right. So the next question is...
Yeah, so if you could choose to blow up, meaning break up, any band that exists today, which band are you getting rid of?
Or would it be or that's ever existed?
Or that
any
has
band that's ever
existed.
existed. And it can't be Nickelback, assuming people have said that.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't be basic.
Let's think. No, I would be No Doubt. No Doubt.
What? That's
one
of your favorite bands ever!
You hate Gwen!
You hate Gwen!
She's over-sexualized!
Oh my gosh!
She's gone. You know why?
Why?
They got rid of their horn players. How rude.
Oh,
you know, and they had a career. They had a career afterwards.
Yeah.
No. Goodbye, No Doubt.
Okay.
No room for those cheesy radio hits.
Oh, come on.
Those are the best. Don't Speak.
Don't Speak.
I still cry when I hear that song.
Oh my gosh.
Terrible.
I'm sorry.
All right. Okay.
Gone.
Okay. We're going to get you out of here with one more question.
Okay.
If you could choose to put together a band today, and
All-star.
your all-star cast
All-star
here.
team.
I got it. Easy.
Shoot, go.
Do it.
Matt Langston, Andrew Verdecchio, Scott Kerr, and me. Touring with the Fast Feeling. touring Europe, dude, killing it, wearing sequined clothes, having the
oh my
keyboards.
gosh,
I want to like rock out confetti. I want to rock out with the fast feeling. I want to like do videos. I want to do the hair, the makeup, the lights, the whole thing. More albums, more songs, karaoke hits, the works.
oh my gosh, I love that. Can we dress like the band from Saving Silverman?
Oh yeah, the Neil Diamond cover band.
Yes, the Neil Diamond cover band.
Yeah.
Steve Zahn.
Larger than life, Matt. All of us, larger than life. The fast feeling touring Europe, really doing it.
I love it. I would love to play shows with you, Leanor. That would be so much fun.
Maybe we should blow up our own bands.
Yeah. Yes. I love that.
So we can do it. Yeah.
I love that. Leanor, thank you so much for giving me time out of your day. I know you've got a family, you got other stuff going on. You're
welcome.
You're a busy person.
Yes.
Yeah. I will. Is there anything else that you want everybody to know? You can do any sort of like 5-iron plugs.
I guess I would just say, keep your eye out, because 5-iron, we're trying to work on some new songs, and we're trying to keep going with shows, and we have some booked, and we're going to keep booking some more. So keep your eye out for 5-iron to keep doing stuff, and people coming to the shows really gets the momentum going and gets us excited. So yeah, just having people at the shows makes us want to do it. And there's honestly, politically and spiritually, there's a lot more to be said. So we cannot be done.
Yes.
We should do an 11ty live from a 5-iron show.
Oh yeah.
You just like can't hear anything. Also, but before we go, one other thing that maybe you forgot to plug. I know that you guys are doing an EP with MX on the the back of their Kickstarter. I think you guys are doing like horn versions of.
They re-recorded Buffalo. I can't remember the whole.
Slowly going the way of Buffalo.
And life in general. And so we're going to record horns off 6 of those songs. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but yeah, it's going to be pretty awesome.
Sweet.
Nice. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Leanor.
You're welcome.
All
See
right.
you guys.
I'll see you later. Bye. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on this episode of 11ty Life. We have links in the show notes to Leanor's band 5-Iron Frenzy, the band that we're in together called The Fast Feeling, and also to the MXPX project that was mentioned in the show. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us this weekend. We love y'all, and we'll see you next time.
11ty Life is a production of Rock Candy Recordings and Rock Candy